Welcome to episode 3 of Zurich Talks, Risk to Resilience, a series that tracks Zurich's sustainability engagements globally, connecting our leaders with external experts, examining how the evolving risk landscape is changing and how we're building resilience in response. We're really excited to be convening graduates from across the insurance value chain, from brokers, reinsurers, and also underwriters, to examine the needs of future leaders and how we can connect to some of the global issues that we face. It's during London Climate Action Week, so we're super excited, and we're in no better place than in London, the modern home of the insurance industry developed over 300 years ago. So very excited to be with you today. So we have Penny Seach, who is our Chief Underwriting Officer at Zurich Insurance. Welcome, Penny.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
We have Bernie Hackett, Head of Customer Distribution and Management for the UK, Zurich Insurance. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
And then we have Matt Connell, Director, Policy and Public Affairs from Chartered Insurance Institute.
Cheers. Hello.
So before we move into the discussion, and obviously this session is shaped for and by the graduates, so you'll hear from them about, what they would like to hear. But maybe just a quick rapid fire round, if you don't mind. I'd love to hear from you. What is the biggest risk the industry may be underestimating today?
I know it's rapid fire, but I'll start, and I don't understand rapid fire. I would say the biggest risk is how we think, and I'm going to say we still think about how likely is something to happen. I think that's the biggest risk we face, because instead, if we think about how could this happen, how could this show up, we will start to think about and understand the interconnected nature of everything that's going on in the world, and we will be able to frame our thinking in a very different way.
Okay.
Quick rapid fire answer.
I'll accept.
Yeah, we've got to be fast, I
Yep,
think.
100%.
Actually, we need critical thinking. We need to be able to move with more agility across the industry to respond to ever-changing risks that our customers are facing. I loved Penny's line last week at AMEC when he said risk does not stay in one lane. It veers all over the place. So having that ability to think, critical thinking, question what you see, be able to, be eloquent enough to be able to challenge that, but also forcing swift change through the industry when we need to.
Yeah, on those themes, fantastic answers. I'd say relevance is the biggest risk. So insurers have always been good at insuring stuff, sort of buildings and cars and what have you. But more and more wealth is now located in ideas, in algorithms, in software, in intellectual property, and so and then the threats to intellectual property. So I guess it's that flexibility to start managing risks around the intangible assets rather than just the tangible ones.
Okay, so flexibility, adaptability, and maybe rethinking or redesigning to keep up with the ever-changing risk landscape. And how do you think the industry should respond, and are we responding?
I think we're responding. I think the beauty is we're the original trust economy, right? This is not news. This is not something that we've just invented today. And I do think we are showing up quite regularly with agility. Like the way insurance is conducted today is not how it was conducted when I arrived in London in '99. It's being transformed in a really great way. And I think we're in a great place with some fantastic leaders and leaders of the future, like who we've got here in the room today. And I think, those sort of things, we're definitely facing it in a really good, positive way. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'd say, the shape of risk has changed, and therefore as an industry, we are being forced to change with that. So, yeah.
I think, you see real tangible examples. So I went to a conference a few days ago, and there were presentations there from vocational specialists talking about neurodiversity and how to keep people with neurodiversity in the workplace, and how insurers are just miles ahead of all the traditional kind of support for employers and, occupational health. And that was just the fact that insurers can be so curious and flexible and inventive about how to manage risks and what kind of skills and expertise they bring on board was fantastic.
So working for institutions that have been around for many, many years, but needing new skills, new adaptability to be able to tackle these challenges on. I think enough from me. We have some great questions from our graduates. So maybe I can invite Katie to ask the first question.
Data centres are critical infrastructure for AI, but are also highly energy intensive. How do you see the industry balancing this rising demand with their sustainability ambitions?
There's a bit of a two-part question in that. Obviously, data centers are being designed to be more climate resilient. So you see the design contemplating, different water cooling, energy efficiency, construction type, right, to try and minimize the impact on resources. I would say, your question was, what is the role of the insurance industry in still meeting sustainability objectives? I would say that is the strength of the insurance industry, bringing in that expertise and going, we've worked with companies that think about cooling problems. We've worked with industries that think about, where do you build your plants in areas that is, going to leave the least amount of footprint. So that's where I think as an industry, we should be stepping in really strongly at that design stage, and not once it's built, what do we now do and how do we now think about this?
And I think we are seeing some great engagement from the clients. And so we've got the business Zurich Resilience Solutions, where we bring in the risk engineers at a really early stage to help sort of provide some guidance and advice as well. But also we're seeing some fantastic new technology. I think, like the small modular reactors it's a little way down the line, but they'll be really fascinating. It's a great space to play in renewable energies in the data center space, but even some of the cooling technology that is coming through, which will require significantly, like if some of the advances that we know are being looked at by some of our customers actually come through, actually it might reduce the power load that's required for these by up to 60%. So where we are today is not necessarily where we'll be in a couple of years' time. And again, keeping that flexibility, that curiosity to be able to go with our clients and say, okay, this is going to adapt over time. Even the size of the data centers 2 or 3 years ago to what we're seeing now is quite significantly different. So, and I'm quite liking that. One of the clients I had dinner with a couple of months ago, who's doing, a big data center investor, they're also really heavily investing in communities. So they see this as a great opportunity to go where you had communities where perhaps the industry was dying for reasons, for various economic reasons. So let's say you were a big mining town or energy town where you don't require as many people to perhaps go offshore. Actually, this might be a great place. There's water, there's already a good energy resource, there's already a skilled workforce. Actually, if we can keep people for generations in that community and invest in education, invest in parks so it's a nice place to live, this can be wonderful economic generators beyond just us being able to run really smart AI faster on our phones.
Insurers have so much data, which they hold as custodians of a huge 100%. Amount of information of business.
Lost data is absolutely critical.
So how do we that I think if insurers can find the optimal way of sharing with policymaker, with government, all the insights and data they have without betraying their customers, that's the kind of the sweet spot. But either side of that, and there are reputational issues for insurance. I think.
You're also in a great space by working in the insurance industry because we're such a critical part of that value chain. You can't finance a project without insurance. You can't build and operate a data center or a power station or anything without insurance. So you're in a wonderful situation even now in your roles where you have a great deal of influence around what will be built and what will happen. We have in some ways forced a change for people to think more broadly about where does our energy come, how do we get it, and how do we drive a better low carbon future. And actually the insurance industry has been massively influential in driving that change in a way that's quite subtle, that people don't always see on the upfront.
Thank you so much. Maybe we can invite Gabriella from Willis Towers Watson.
What role can mechanisms like the ILS market and cat bonds play in helping the industry expand insurability for more complex risks?
Double edge to this, right? Because capital markets likes things that are more founded in certainty, right? And I don't mean about uncertain risks, but they like things that are either you can build a model around it, or it's limit contained, or it's very clear trigger contained. So there is a limitation in terms of how capital markets will show up. But I think it's also a good, interesting challenge for us to then figure out how are we thinking about solutions, because you can still bind certainty, right, in an uncertain risk landscape. And you don't have to use capital markets as the only solution. So you could use it as quite a blended approach. And I think what is interesting is I won't say as things get more complex, I'm going to say as the insurable environment becomes so vast that you don't have enough capital to support it because of the interconnected nature of it. I think that's where we can use capital markets in a far more strategic way, but still understanding that, they want a price for that. So it's got to, that's still got to stack up, and there still has to be certainty in terms of how we could trade that off into the capital market space.
Okay, I think we're going to hear from Anna from Zurich.
In what ways can graduates help drive innovation and change in an industry that's often seen as quite conservative?
You're actually in the most fantastic position as, new to the market and in the early stages of your career, because this is the perfect time to challenge how we're doing things and how we're approaching. And, this is an industry that has always innovated. There's always been new products being developed. If it's been seen to be insurable, we've come up with new ideas. I would say you should bring all your ideas. You're a valuable voice at the table around how we should innovate. There's things that we probably haven't thought of, and definitely, no monopoly on good ideas, which if anyone who sits anywhere near me hears all the time. We want to hear from you. Definitely drive innovation. You're in a great space, and also listen to when somebody talks back to you around, actually, this is why it might not work, and be saying, well, could we do it a bit differently, and tease stuff out. Don't be afraid to try new things.
I would say, experience can be a blind spot. And I think, it's interesting you use the word conservatism. And what I would say to everyone here is that, if you come and go, we want to do this new product and it looks like this and we think it's going to be fantastic. And, someone, let's say me, turns around and goes, oh no, we've seen that, done that, like it's not going to work, right? Often people will go, oh, okay, and leave, right? Instead going, okay, why did it fail? What were the parameters? What was true at the time that caused it to fail, and has that changed? And I think that's where your perspective, your own experience and your own different way of thinking about things, the world has changed, right? We still get stuck in our experience of what happened. I'm young, so not so long ago. But I think that's how we will, help the industry mature, level up constantly.
Maybe, Matt, is there anything the CII is doing to support or drive innovation?
Absolutely, and a lot of it comes from our younger members directly. I mean, I guess people who run insurance firms are generally, and people who meet in insurance member organisations like the CII or ABI, often talk about why is it that insurance has this conservative image, and they're aware that only that Generation X, my generation, the previous generations haven't solved the problem. We're not going to solve the problem now. It's younger people who are going to come through and find that connection with society about all these different risks. It is a difficult transition between having really good ideas and having those ideas implemented. And when somebody has a good idea, it's often not always adopted immediately. It's not the right time. It's maybe 5 years' time or 10 years' time. But if you can craft something and curate something that's a really powerful solution to a problem, sooner or later somebody is going to be desperately needing to come up with a quick solution, and they're going to cast around for something that's ready-made. And if that ready-made thing is already there and you've plugged away in it and you've socialized it and people are gradually more and more aware of it through the industry, it will go from being ignored for 5 or 10 years to suddenly being the thing that everyone's talking about and can't stop talking about. So I think that kind of persistence is really important as well.
Thank you. Great, and I think we have one final question from George from Zurich.
Looking forward, what is one capability the insurance industry needs to stand out, adapt and lead in a more complex, interconnected risk landscape?
So what we've done at CII is just published what we call a professional map. So for a long time we were an exam body and we did an exam syllabus that tested people's technical knowledge on insurance. And we had a team that worked with hundreds of employers to say, well, what do you really want from somebody working in insurance? And it was a whole range of behaviours, ethics, drive to deliver, customer focus, about a dozen different behaviours that had nothing to do with technical knowledge, and then 3 huge enablers around compliance, ethics, and technology. And so I guess it's recognising that we're not just experts in underwriting or legal aspects of claims and things like that. It's by having a sector, having a profession that really does where kind of vocational rehab people are just as much a part of the profession as underwriters. And so thinking of ourselves as a risk management profession, the risk management profession, and developing the skills around all those behaviours and enablers, as well as the technical aspects.
I think that curiosity thing that Penny has talked about is really important, but also that ability to just really think about it and question things, I think is good. But also, please spend the time to get some depth of knowledge on the technical elements so that you can question things properly. So definitely do your CI exams. I think they're not just because you're sat here, I would say that anyway, because actually it's a great way to build up a broader set of understandings about many parts of the industry and that proper technical thing. Spend time with the really skilled technical brokers, underwriters who can share insights with you, and that will allow you the ability to be able to question what you're seeing. And I think when you take that, that'll be, sort of spend that time to get that critical thinking, but also make sure you've got the baseline of really good knowledge as well and experience.
I would echo that. I mean, I think technology is going to change the way we learn, the way we do things, the way we understand, but critical thinking will remain the superpower irrespective of how technology or the world changes around us.
Well, if you're not inspired, I don't know what can. Hopefully you can take some of that and, figure out what it means to be the next generation of insurance leaders, because the world is getting more interconnected from a risk perspective. So inspiration to think about how you think things forward. So adaptability, critical thinking, and always be brave, I guess. That's what I take from you. So huge thank you to our amazing graduates and to our panelists for such a great conversation. Thank you.